Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. I am here in crypto for the greatest wealth transfer in the history of mankind, and it is happening today. It's been happening for 12 years roughly, ever since the inception of cryptocurrencies and the crypto asset class. Bitcoin specifically obviously started it all. And what we're finding is that more and more people keep coming in this space. About 1% of humans that are on the planet have ever at any point in time held a cryptocurrency, and you already saw Bitcoin run up to $65,000, and you saw this year, and you saw XRP last market cycle get as high as nearly $4. And frankly, the numbers are even more impressive with that, because XRP at nearly $4 with more like maybe 0.001% of all humans on the planet at any point in time having ever held XRP. So almost none, and it already got that high. And so the crypto asset class not going away. And one of the reasons that I'm very excited to be in the crypto asset class is because I'm so disgusted by the monetary policy of governments the world over, including within the United States. And I live in the United States. I love my country. I don't like the monetary policy, though. It's ridiculous. That onerous taxes, endlessly debasing the dollar through trillions of dollars of money printing. It's ridiculous here. And so I want to speak a bit about that, because I don't do that too frequently. But really, the monetary policy side, it is important. And I tell you what, it's not that I buy necessarily the narrative that there's a ton of people jumping in specifically because of this. But I'm being honest, I can just speak for myself. It's anecdotal. But for me, this does matter. Not that I'm anticipating some imminent crash. I'm not calling for that. I'm not expecting that, the United States economy. And yeah, there will be another major recession at some unknown point in the future. Things are cyclical, fine. But I'm not saying that the dollar goes away, not even necessarily in my lifetime. But if things don't change at some point, yeah, there's going to be serious problems. And so I'm just trying to get mine. And the path of least resistance to extreme wealth, I believe, is investing in cryptocurrency. And for me specifically, that does mean XRP. Now, I want to be clear. I don't have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice. And you should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. And I'm not pretending that there's no risk investing in crypto or XRP. Of course there is. Of course there's risk associated with that. But I still firmly believe that the greatest risk people have when investing, whether it's stocks or crypto, their greatest risk is themselves, because people emotionally make buying decisions, and that's not a good way to make some of the most important decisions that you're going to make in your life, financial decisions. I don't like that one bit. And so I wanted to highlight something here, just a short thread. There is a tweet from Senator Elizabeth Warren. I'm not a fan. Definitely not a fan. And she wrote the following. Under my plan, Jeff Bezos would pay a $5.4 billion wealth tax of his estimated net worth of $181 billion. He could still pay for his space missions and super yachts if that's where he gets his kicks. But as a nation, we could invest in our people, including universal childcare. And look, don't worry, I'm not going to preach cultural stuff, anything politically along those lines, most certainly not. But I find this tweet to be repulsive. And I am going to talk about this because look, this is an XRP-centric YouTube channel, but a lot of the time I'm speaking in general about cryptocurrency, and at times generally about finance, and this absolutely falls in the wheelhouse. So don't worry, I'm not going to get all preachy about politics in general. That is not what this channel is about, but this specifically it impacts finance, and this is one example of why I'm thrilled to be in the crypto space, because it's an opportunity to kind of level the playing field a little bit here. And so and by the way, and I say this all the time, but in case you're new, I love diversity of thought, so I'm sharing my take on this. If you disagree, that's perfectly fine. Feel free to articulate in the comment section below why you think I'm wrong, because I do love I love debate, actually, and I don't mean screaming matches. I enjoy people that don't let their emotions get in the way of sharing their ideas. I don't like people that feel emotions and then scream. Like, those are small brain people. So if you disagree, that's perfectly fine. But I think it's perfectly healthy to talk about these things. And I have a blast just talking about this and sharing ideas. And so if you've got a compelling case, I'm always willing to be persuaded, for sure. And so I responded to this, and I wrote the following. You could take 100% of billionaires' wealth in the United States, and it wouldn't put a dent in the national debt. How about instead of stealing from rich people and engaging in class warfare, the government starts spending less money than it takes in? Which is important, which is why when I started the video, look, I'll pull it up again. This is the United States debt clock. And you can see the national debt in my country is currently around the number $28.5 trillion. And I'm going to run through this too, part of this anyway. This is a write-up titled, Will Millennials Turn to Cryptocurrency as Generational Wealth Transfer Begins? And there's some interesting figures in there you're going to love, so make sure you stick around to the end of the video. But there's going to be so much money pouring into crypto specifically. I firmly believe that this asset class is going to outperform any other for the next decade, perhaps beyond that, right? And so it's just fascinating. Like, I don't know if you realize this, but if you're in the United States, like the debt per taxpayer is $226,000. It's absolutely insane, right? This is so you're talking about the debasement of the dollar, and so I don't know when the chickens will come home to roost, as they sometimes say, whoever they are. But you can't behave like this forever and expect nothing horrendous to happen. So I don't know when. I don't know how bad it will be. I don't know if it will be in my lifetime. But you can't do this forever. You absolutely can't. And since I don't know when something is going to go horrifically wrong, because I'm not counting on them fixing this, to be clear. Like I'm not expecting this national debt to go down to zero. No, it ain't happening. It's very clear that neither party, the left or the right, nobody wants to deal with this. Nobody cares. Not sufficiently. I mean, maybe you could find some individual people, but just if you're talking Republican, Democrat, the two main parties in my country, no, nobody's doing a damn thing about this. And so that's scary. That is scary. So then I see this, and then I see the greatest opportunity for wealth, the greatest wealth transfer in the history of mankind occurring right now as we're living. So we're so fortunate to be living in this time. And that's why I'm taking advantage of this. And Bitcoin's been fantastic, but cryptocurrencies like XRP that today have smaller market caps, it takes way less money flowing in to get tremendous multiplier effects, which is why for me specifically, it's one of the reasons that XRP is my largest holding and it will be for the foreseeable future. And so there's a guy named That One Dude on Twitter here who disagrees with me, not on everything, but on some stuff. And we actually had a fun little back and forth. I actually enjoy it. I love the back and forth. So he disagrees with me on some things. He's stating his case, and I was mine. I'm not going to go through the whole thread. It's not the purpose of this video. But if you do want to see the rest of the conversation after this video, feel free to hop over on Twitter. You can see the back and forth there. But yeah, I absolutely I seriously, I legitimately enjoy hearing ideas that are different than my own. I like being challenged as long as it's thoughtful and adult. Like to me, it's really a lot of fun here. I just don't like when the emotions get in the way. And so when you're talking about politics and religion, I get it. Some people are very emotional, but like that's shortcoming on their part. You should be able to hear ideas different than your own without getting mad or thinking less of the person that has those ideas that you don't hold. That just speaks to how much of a child you are, frankly, if that's the position that you hold. And so this is a fun back and forth, but he just had this one comment that I'm going to share in this video anyway. He wrote, actually, gotta say, I do have a genuine disagreement here, actually, with so he's saying that in response to that tweet that I wrote to Elizabeth Warren. And then he said, not necessarily about this being some magic cure all for our debt problems. It won't solve that. But it only makes sense for all to pay their fair share, especially for those who have the means to do so. And so I wrote the following. Rich people already pay the vast majority of taxes in the United States. They do pay their fair share. Meanwhile, in recent years, the Treasury has literally taken in record amounts of cash and still continues to spend too much. The government doesn't need the money. And by the way, let me pause here. I'm going to show you the data in this video to prove what I'm saying here, so don't worry. And then I wrote the following. The government is asking successful entrepreneurs to do with less. When does the government ever do with less? Never. It just spends and spends and spends. Meanwhile, they have the ability to create new money, but they still want to take it from successful people who earned it. I hate the idea of punishing success via onerous taxes, and I hate class warfare. These people should be celebrated by society. And mind you, when we're talking about like what Elizabeth Warren's talking about here, she's talking about taking money that's already taxed. So tax it and then tax again, but it's worse than just a tax because you're just outright taking what you thought was yours. I mean, what's that going to do for confidence in free markets in the United States? Like, what would that actually do if you start taking all this money? And again, mind you, you're not even addressing the underlying problem, which is extreme government spending. So check this out. I wrote the following. These are facts. The top 1% of income earners, check this out. This is going to blow your mind if you're not aware of this. The top 1% of income earners in the United States pay 40% of all income taxes. Did you hear that? The top 1% of income earners pay 40% of all income taxes. And yes, to be clear, I acknowledge they're making a boatload of money each year. I got it. But they're also paying an insane amount of the taxes. And that's fine. We're in what's called a progressive tax system. Fine. I actually don't have major beef with that. Like, in general, like, okay, that's fine. This is what we've decided. It works. Cool. Now, the top 5% in the United States, top 5% of earners, pay 60% of taxes. Think about it. Top 5% pay 60%. The top 10% of income earners pay 71% of all income taxes. The top 25% of earners in the United States pay 87% of all income taxes. Now mind you, the bottom 50% of income earners, the bottom 50% of the entire country, they pay 3% of all income taxes. These are facts. This is data. That's all that's going on here. And so you got to ask here, if the rich are not paying their fair share, when you're talking about the top 25% of income earners paying 87% of all income taxes, they're not paying their fair share? I'm sorry. So how much should they pay? 90%? 95%? 99%? What do you subjectively believe is fair? Well, I say, and this is like the data's in front of you, they're already paying it. And that's fine. I'm not even saying that they shouldn't. I'm not arguing that. I'm saying they are doing it, though. Like, they just are. And so I then wrote, so yes, the rich are paying their fair share. In reality, just about all taxes are paid by the wealthy. The fact that the greedy government wants even more is appalling to me. It's unethical as far as I'm concerned. And so look, if the government weren't outrageously spending already and taking in record revenue, then we could talk about it. Like, from my perspective, okay, then we could even have a conversation, and I'd be willing to entertain it, of increasing taxes. But that's not what's happening here. And by the way, that data, I got it from heritage.org. This is the Heritage Foundation. They did a good job putting together fact-based pieces here. And so the data they get, and they cite all of their sources. So if you want to look this up, you can do it yourself, and they cite their sources as well. It is all real data, though. If you want to fact check, feel free, but it is real. And then there was this. So consider this. Now we're looking at, and this is why I'm so disgusted. I love crypto so much. I'm so thankful for crypto. So take a look at this. This is from thebalance.com. This shows the amount of revenue that the United States brought in. We're talking about the United States Treasury. This is the amount of money collected from citizens every single year. Every single year. And since I think it said back to 1789 anyway. And so check this out. In 2008, or maybe it was 2007. Yeah, it was 2007. The government took in, at that time, a record amount of money, $2.57 trillion. 2.57 trillion. That was a record in the year 2007. The next year was a little bit lower, 2.52 trillion, and we know that the recession hit around that time, and then it dropped further in 2009 down to $2.1 trillion. But every year since then, the government has taken in more money. In fact, in the year 2013, the government hit a new record, 2.77 trillion. The next year, 3.02 trillion. In 2015, 3.25 trillion. The next year, 2016, 3.27 trillion, another record year. In 2017, 3.32 trillion. In 2018, 3.33 trillion. In 2019, 3.46 trillion. In 2020, and this part's estimated actually, and they do acknowledge that, 3.71 trillion, and this year's estimated to be 3.86 trillion. Record year after record year after record year, yet you see the debt clock, and we owe $28.5 million. So let me ask you, can you, listening to this, can you run your household like this? Can you just spend yourself into oblivion with zero consequences? Well, they get to create money out of thin air. They seem to not care, but you can't do this. You can't run your household like this, and it's completely reckless and irresponsible. And this is what's happening. And so while the government is spending way more than it should, because you should live within your means, ideally beneath your means, store up money instead of running a deficit, isn't that a novel idea? That's a better way to live, isn't it? That's more responsible. That's more adult. That's not what the government is doing here. And so while they're outrageously spending, the solution, is it supposed to be that we confiscate wealth from people that are some of the wealthiest people on the planet that have benefited the lives of so many people out there? Like, what are you going to do? Go after Apple? The founders of Apple? Amazon? Are you actually going to do this and erode trust within free markets? And how unethical is that? Because look, even if you do that, you're not addressing the problem. The problem is not a revenue problem. I'm showing you here on the screen real data. There's plenty of money coming in. It's the more money comes in, the more they spend. That's the problem. That's the real problem here. And it's disgusting to me. And so if you, government, are going to continue to act like children here, irresponsibly, I'm not even going to consider, I'm not even going to humor the idea of more increasing tax rates, because you are taking in more dollars, substantially more dollars year after year after year, but you only up the ante further in terms of your ridiculous spending. And so it's not moral, it's not ethical to take money from people that have earned it, entrepreneurs which have bettered the lives of their fellow citizens, and in many cases people the world over. It's not ethical and moral to take money from them. It's absolutely not. It's disgusting to me. You should not do that, and it won't solve the problem. You could take all of the money from all the billionaires in the United States, and again, I meant what I said, it wouldn't even put a dent in the national debt. It nowhere near even a dent. So you'd just be taking it because rich people bad for some reason. You'd be taking it, and then you wouldn't even be solving the problem. The government would still keep spending, and then you just did something immoral. I don't like this. I don't like this one little bit. And so this is why I see this. I see the debasement of the dollar. I see the onerous taxes. And I'm absolutely going to pay taxes, everything that I owe on all of my crypto. You better believe that. I'm going to, because even if I don't like tax, the tax situation, I'm not saying that I completely detest it, but even if I hated it, it doesn't matter to me. You operate within the law. I think law and order actually matter. And so no, even if I don't like it, you go, if you don't like it, well then you go fight to have the law changed. You don't just skirt the system. So no, I'm going to pay my fair share. But all that to say, despite the taxes for the wealthiest people being very high, and you're gonna, if you hit it big in crypto, and many of you listening, I suspect will actually, many of you will be in that top 1% for that particular calendar year. And then you tell me if you think that it's fair that the government gets close to half of your money when you make it in crypto. Because in the United States, that's potentially what you're looking at. Now, if you're holding your crypto for over a year, yeah, you might get max. You might have to pay max 20% because that's long-term capital gains tax rate. Fine, but outside of that, if you're a shorter-term holder than that, yeah, what if you lose half of it? You tell me if that feels fair to you. And then you know that they're not being responsible with the funds that they're taking from you, and they're just putting out everything, including shrimp on a treadmill. I kid you not. Google shrimp on a treadmill, government. I'm sure it'll bring it up. That was funded. I kid you not. It sounds like a joke, and it is funny. It's very funny, but it's a real thing. This is what the government's doing. This is the stupidest stuff here. So the good news is that despite all of this happening here, the debasement of the dollar, and in many cases, onerous taxes, despite this, we're seeing such asymmetrical returns in the crypto asset class compared to any other asset class in existence. The likes of, we've never seen anything like this as a species. This has never happened before. Not like this. This is insane, but it's real. It's actually real. And so more money is going to be flowing in, and we're going to see the largest shift generationally in terms of wealth that has ever occurred. And so take a look at this piece from CryptoVantage titled, "Will Millennials Turn to Cryptocurrency as Generational Wealth Transfer Begins?" And so as I go through some of this, I'm not going to read the whole thing, just some select parts. Think about how, yes, this has already happened with Bitcoin and continues to. And then think about how, comparatively, there's way less money in XRP, and that's a good thing, because it means way less money has to flow in to get a tremendous multiplier effect. The cryptocurrency revolution is taking place right before our eyes. Some have even called it the greatest transfer of wealth the world has ever seen. While this fact has yet to be seen, the foundation has been laid. As of right now, an estimated 17,000 new millionaires have been created as a result of the monolithic rise of Bitcoin, As the price of Bitcoin increases, this number is only expected to increase as well. The significance of the establishment of cryptocurrency cannot be understated. Cryptocurrency is a global phenomenon, and previous great wealth transfers have typically been confined to a particular demographic or geographic region. The global nature of cryptocurrency means the whole world can watch as the next great transfer of wealth unfolds. And by the way, that is a good point, and that's one of the reasons that you're seeing this type of multiplier effect with cryptocurrency. It's the whole world. I mean, if you think about the dot-com bubble, a couple decades ago, what did that bubble get up to, like 6 trillion? And that was within the United States. This is global, my friends. This is all of the money that has an option to participate. The ability to participate. People the world over. This is much, much bigger. And it's so early on, like you were still early to the party. I insist that's the case. You fast forward another, decade or two. Because look, we got what's the market cap now? As I record this, 1.42 trillion for the crypto asset class. $1.42 trillion market cap. Well, do you not think that's going to be tens of trillions of dollars at some point? Maybe at some point over $100 trillion? Do you not think something like that's going to happen? Because I do. I think there will be individual cryptocurrencies with multi-trillion-dollar market caps on their own. Those cryptocurrencies that truly have long-term staying power, you better believe it. Anyway, the piece continues. The next big transfer of wealth is generational. The children of baby boomers are set to inherit trillions of dollars from their parents. While estimates vary, the number stands between 18 and 68 trillion. Within the next 30 years, much of the wealth that has been amassed and hoarded by baby boomers will be passed on to a younger demographic. There are many predictions as to what the outcome of such a wealth transfer will look like. I believe that a certain percentage of the wealth transferred to the younger generation will be funneled directly into cryptocurrency investments. Young people are not so much interested in the stock market or traditional investments. Exactly. This asset class that you are participating in right now, or at least I assume you are if you're listening to this channel, it's going to go bonkers. And so even after this bear market, which will come, we're still in the bull market, but even when the bubble inflates and pops and you see maybe an 80 or 90+% crash, which I think will happen, you're going to see like an incredible resurgence at some point, even if it's years after that. And I'll be accumulating during the bear years, but it's just rinse and repeat. So much money is going to be coming in. It's going to be insane. You're talking about trillions of actual dollars potentially flowing in, right? And think about it. So that doesn't mean like if $3 trillion come in, that doesn't mean that the market cap increases by 3 trillion. It will increase way more than that. Way, way, way more than that. Because the prices of each individual crypto, when the people are, it's just supply and demand, prices get bid up. So if you're talking about 3 trillion, I'm just making up a number, 3 trillion actual dollars, my gosh, the multiplier, I don't even know what that would be. What would it be like? Would you have like a $30 trillion market cap just from, or maybe more than that, from if that much money actually flowed in? And I don't know how much money is flowing in. I'm just sharing. The reason I'm making up these numbers is just to get the idea across. I don't know exactly what those numbers will be, admittedly. I mean, even if it's just $1 trillion, though, it's just $1 trillion. $1 trillion flows in. My gosh, the multiplier effect. Whew, it's going to be bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. I'm here for that. I'm excited for that. This truly is life-changing for those people that put in a sufficient amount of money and hold a sufficient amount of time and don't make emotional buying and selling decisions. I think a lot of people are truly going to make life-changing money. Like what faster path to wealth is there? And it all makes sense to me. It's because the markets are illiquid compared to any other asset class right now. They're supremely illiquid compared to what they will be in the future. You're just going to get tremendous asymmetrical returns compared to other asset classes. That's it. And so with all this money coming in, as it gets inherited, it's not all of it, but a lot of it will get funneled into crypto. You can see that the younger demographic is all for it, and the crypto asset class is not going away. I'll wrap up there. Let me know what you think below. I am not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.